What is your move when you are talking to people and they're going off on how stupid, racist, and inhuman Trump supporters are?
Um, Hold on, I think we're landed, so let me hit record. Okay. While we wait for everybody to fill in, ask the question again so when people hear the playback, they know what we're talking about.
What is your move when people are talking to you about how stupid and racist and unworthy of dignity and respect Trump supporters are?
So I don't hear too much of that anymore. And when I do hear it, it's a lot easier to like comfortably push back or to sort of push people, like move people back from that stance. Like when I would try to have that argument with them 10 years ago, right? Like, or 9 years ago, whatever it was, like people were much more like in my face and violent about it.
Yep.
Generally, like the tack that I take with it, because it happens to be what I think is true, so this works for me. And so if it's not what you think is true, then it might not work for you, but this works for me. Is I encourage them that when they, fall into this like very easy trap of like blaming everyone you find distasteful or that you don't like of being a racist, you're actually missing the bigger problem, and that's that he's a narcissist. And that, right, like and so, like my observation of Donald Trump is he's mostly interested in what Donald Trump thinks and what makes Donald Trump look good and all of that kind of stuff. And it's not hard to convince somebody of that, right? So it's like, I'll say to them something like, he's actually a narcissist, which on some levels is a little bit scarier because, people who may have political or social beliefs you disagree with, like on some level, at least they believe something. But generally, narcissists will go along with whatever they think is going to make themselves look best. And it might be this week and that next week and whatever it is. And it's pretty easy to get someone to listen to that and accept that because you're not sitting there going, no, Trump is a man of peace and he's going to solve the problems of this and that worldwide, right? But it backs them off that ledge. And for me, I actually think it's true. So
Okay, so that wasn't my question. But in response to what you said, what president of the United States has not been a narcissist?
none of them.
Right. So my question to you is, what do you say when they're accusing Trump
Right.
supporters, people who voted for Trump as being stupid, racist,
Okay,
and
so like
less
this
than human?
okay. So so just to deal with the racism thing first, once I push people from that spot, right, then it's easy like to kind of back them off of the supporters and go, hey, I know a lot of Trump supporters, and a lot of them, like they like there's a policy or two that Trump is in agreement with them on, and that might be why they're voting for him. It isn't always people who just don't like immigrants or something like that. There's like a million reasons. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's economical, sometimes it's because they don't want vaccine mandates or whatever it is, right? And after I've sort of pushed back on like the Trump thing, then it's easier to sort of push back that on the topic about racism as far as the supporters. As far as them being stupid or not, right? Like I will just point out that actually anybody who votes for anybody and thinks that that's going to help them with anything is technically stupid. So there's no smarter people on the other side. So if you think you're smart, I'll kind of do that little game. But also, like, it's just true that, like, there's plenty of people who are highly intelligent that vote for Trump. Like, a
Of
person can be
course.
highly intelligent and not have good sense. And that goes for people who vote for Democrats too, right? Like, it is not like an IQ test. It's basically like there's a few people who vote with there's people who vote with their feelings, and there's people who vote with self-interest in mind. And sometimes a person who you like doesn't actually do anything for you, like in terms of improving your quality of life, but you like them, so you vote for them. And for other people, there can be someone who's horribly distasteful, but their policies speak to your pocketbook or speak to some issue that's really important to you. So there's like a million and one reasons why somebody might vote for someone or choose not to vote at all. And none of us have any idea really what that is when we look at someone who's a Trump supporter or a Biden supporter or Obama supporter or someone who chooses not to vote at all, right? Like I said, these conversations are way easier now than they were like 8 or 10 years ago. It's pretty much, and I'll also bring forward the whole like, but mostly, like I can convince most people that the government isn't doing anything anyone wants, and that we should all refuse to pay for this. And I can usually convince like whoever I'm talking with of that point as well, right?
Mhm.
Like one thing you and Trump supporters should be able to agree on is that like no one's doing the things we asked them to do, so why are we paying for this?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
kind of shift to that.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't ask any politicians to do anything because I know that's not how it works, but most people still think that like by voting they're doing something. So yeah.
Right. Cool. I developed a new strategy this weekend at a 4th of July gathering where I just kept hearing it over and over again.
Let's
And
hear
this is my new strategy. I totally agree. Also, all black people steal, all kikes have horns and eat babies, and Asians can't drive.
it. Nice. And what was the response to that?
I actually snapped someone out of it because they were like so offended, and I'm like, but you have no problem being a bigot when it comes to Trump supporters. And then I got this person to admit that he actually thinks that Trump supporters are stupid and racist. And I'm like, right, like all black people steal, right? Like all Mexicans are stupid too, right? And then there was like pointing out the bigotry, and he was like, but I don't otherize. And I'm like, except for half of this country, you think it's
Right.
okay to otherize. He actually got it. He actually heard himself, and he was like, oh, I didn't realize it because everyone in my friend group does this. And I'm like, yeah, all your friends are bigots. How cool, isn't it?
True. Yeah. Right. Like it's so like but this has been the whole thing, and this has been for like a long time now. Like almost as long as I've been you know, awake or a conspiracy theorist or whatever it is that like by far everything the left accuses the right of, the people on the left, the liberals or whatever, like do it way more, way worse.
Way
Oh,
worse.
right, way worse. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Hi, Danny. How are you? What's going on? Let's see. We've got 41 friends in the house, lots of strange purple crowns, and yeah, and we're ready to go. What are people saying here?
Wait,
Jana,
how does Dead Star Cave Girl have a number 3 crown and a number 1 crown? And we have multiple. I'm so confused as to what the crown
I
actually
know,
means.
I know, I don't understand either, right? Um, yeah, your good friend called you a Republican because you're not crazy about Trump. Does that mean that they think that Trump is a Democrat, or just that you don't hate him? It's like being not crazy about him is not enough. Yeah, that is weird though, that like she has first the third crown and then the first crown. And then right after that, Karen has the first crown, and then Dead Star. Dead Star is the only one here who's got all
Every
three
number?
crowns. Yeah, she's got one, two, and three.
Karen Burns, I'm really sorry to hear about the mercury poisoning, and I'm going to encourage you to use ing verbs to move it out of your system so that you're in the process of healing from mercury poisoning instead of inviting it to stay. Just my 2 cents.
Well, there you go. Um, okay, so we have a little announcement. We're gonna make it at the beginning and at the end. That Danny and I have become fatigued of the clown show, or she calls it the sham show, I call it the clown show. But we are not fatigued of each other or of all of you. So we are going to continue to do the show, but we are going to make it a little bit more of a variety show, meaning we're still going to do like some banter and chatter and then some clips, but instead of it really being mostly political or social sort of clips, it's going to be whatever we want. Like whatever Danny like was into that week, whatever she was researching or looking at for some other thing or whatever, the most interesting or funny or weird or whatever things she wants to bring, she'll bring, and I'll bring those. And they may include politics or social stuff, but they're also going to include other topics that each of us are interested in. And also, we encourage you guys to send us things, right? To send us things for consideration and to not have your feelings hurt if it's just that there's sometimes so many things to consider. But yeah, we're like, it's just the most, like if last week with hearing about Trump calling Candace Owens to get her to stop talking about, we got a strike for or whatever for somehow that conversation last week
We
or
got
whatever.
a strike?
Not a strike, like a episode can't be monetized and no all that kind of.
Why?
I couldn't figure it out and I didn't care enough to work on it. So I'm not going to say the words, but the little situation with the French couple. And
I wonder if Candace got demonetized for that, or just us got demonetized for sharing her monetized clip.
right, probably.
Makes all the sense in the
Makes
world.
all the sense in the world. But why was I saying that? What was the purpose of me bringing that up?
That we're shifting our phone format to the Gong Show.
Right, but then why did I bring up the Candace thing?
Because the sham show's gotten so ridiculous.
I mean, so well, it's yes. So we had that last week, and then this week, like what's going on this week is just like like I don't even know what to make of it, but it's definitely all sorts of circus tunes and Muppet introductions and things like that have been zipping through my mind all week. So anywho, so that's going to be the new format. Hopefully that you all will be amenable to that, and we look forward to having you join us in proposing clips, topics for our consideration. All right, so with that said, we did prepare for today's show. We just made that decision today. So we prepared for today's show under the more normal, the more usual format. And so we're ready to go with that. And Dani's got like some sort of like jazzercise move going on.
I have something to share.
Okay.
Just on the weaponization of customer service and how badly it's devolving.
Yes. Okay. Let's hear it.
Reporting from the front lines. And I'm also very clear that this is how the demons in the dark side like have in the past slipped their way into my field. So I got a new printer and I couldn't figure out how to set it up to print. Shocker. So this was the first time that I've dealt with a printer where I could not get to any customer service or anything until I registered.
Right, you had to put the app on your computer and register.
No. I will not do the app. See, I'm anti-app, and this is the issue.
This is the issue.
I had to register on the site itself to get a customer service person who spoke very little English. And step number one was that she was going to send me some app to put on my phone so she could see my shit. And I'm like, no, we're definitely not doing that. You could just use your words and guide me through it. And then she had me download, she tried to get me to do the app like 10 times. And I'm like, nope, not an option, not doing it. Just send me a driver.
Laura and I love to say that.
Right? Yeah. So she sends me the driver, which doesn't work because I only realized later it's all for PC, even though I've told her that I'm a Mac. So this has taken 45 minutes and then nothing is resolved, but I have a client. So then I call back and then a different non-English speaking customer service person also tries to get into my phone. I'm like, nope, you can do the app. Nope, not doing the app. She tells me drivers are not an option. And then after like muscling her, we finally get it going. But this thing with trying to worm their way into my devices was new for me. And disgustingly, if it was like rape. It was like the same thing as like shoving a kill shot into my vein. You do not get access into my devices.
So this isn't like, so is it a Hewlett Packard?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I have a Hewlett Packard printer that I inherited from like my job when I left the job, we closed the kitchen. And so they're like, you can take whatever you want. Right. And so I have the printer, and I never ended up using it there. We had bought it because at a time we thought we might print certain things there, but we ended up not doing it. So I brought it home and I set it up. And again, I didn't want to do that either. I didn't want to do app. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. And finally, I found a workaround and was able to get the printer to work without doing that. It worked for about 30 days, and then it would never work again. It was like, oh yeah, like we can only, when you don't want to use the app, you can only use it that way temporarily without using the app or whatever.
What?
Yeah. And then eventually I had something I had to print, like I had something that had to get printed like immediately, and I didn't have any other, so I ended up downloading the app and doing it, but I tried to do what you're saying. So be careful that in 30 days, you're like that might happen in 30 days.
I'm terrified now.
Yeah, it might not. Maybe it was just like some bullshit for me because they seem to have personalized bullshit with all of this stuff.
Totally.
But
But I
yeah,
bet after 30 days, then I can't return it. That's their trick, is like,
probably.
we'll let you do it for
Yes.
30 days and then you're
Yeah.
stuck with it.
I mean,
Fuck you, Hewlett
mine was like
Packard.
2 years after I had bought the printer, so that was no longer the issue. But yes, that's probably the reason why. So good point. Okay, I have two that I talked about it in Conspiracy Cocktail about a week and a half ago, so I don't want to go deep into it, but I'm going to mention my two new forms of the weaponization of customer service, or what I more refer to as like customer harassment.
Yep.
Right? The constant emails with requests for reviews, constant
From
email,
whom?
texts, restaurants that you've been to,
Why do they have your personal information?
supplement companies that you've bought from, coffee that you've ordered online, pants that you order. Anytime you order anything online, they have your email address. And
I
the
get
reason
none of these.
and the reason that the restaurants have my email address is because of how I make reservations online, right? But my problem with this is I don't have a problem with them asking once, right? But sometimes it'll be like 6 weeks out from when I ordered the product, and they're fucking still sending an email like 3, 4 times a week. Like, hey, this is your last chance. We're offering you one final chance to review the product. And it's like, isn't the fact that I buy it on subscription, which means like I get it every month, or I've ordered from you 10 times. Like, that's your answer. I obviously like the product. I don't know. I'm not writing you a review. Like, I fucking hate that shit. So there's that one. And then the other one is like this obsession with sort of scents in hotels, right? Like we stayed at a really nice hotel, but had like one of those scents in it that just like makes you want to kill yourself
Like chemical?
chemically, right? Like
Ew.
we've also stayed in hot, and like the proper hotel smells amazing. It smells like Palo Santo and sandalwood and whatever. It smells amazing. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna have a scent throughout your hotel, make it subtle and make it good. But like these scents were so aggressive that it feels like we don't really want you at our hotel. It's like basically Lysol implying that you're like bacteria or a roach or something. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
right. So those are my two new forms of customer service weaponization / customer harassment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All right. I feel like this should be a regular
a regular segment.
segment for us. Yeah, that we continue to report. And I'm going to encourage everyone, including you, Emily, say no to apps and say no to giving your personal information to making a restaurant reservation. No. Like if we continue to acquiesce, then this is going to continue to get worse.
So
When
I will
we
say,
say no and we safeguard our own privacy and anonymity, then we can shift this.
so I will say this. The restaurant reservation thing, like I've been a open table member for like long, many years, long before I recognized what was going on. So like that was a choice that was made like probably 20 years ago, right? And so, I wasn't forced into it, right? It wasn't like one of these things where like, oh, if I want to use the product or whatever, right? And then, but how you buy things online, right? Sometimes it's just through email. Like if I buy a pair of pants from Sanctuary, then Sanctuary has my email address.
I
And
don't buy new clothes. Everything I buy is used.
do you buy things from like Etsy or eBay or anything like that?
I do.
And nobody does that from there?
They do. I just ignore it. I'm a
Yeah,
kind of a bad eBayer that way where I just won't, but I don't get the like harass
right.
piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the harass isn't coming from the companies itself. I think it's coming from the third parties that they have hired to run that portion of their shop or whatever it is. And I need to find a way to like opt out of that portion of the bullshit or something.
I did get an email. It's weird how I end up on these lists because I have never been a registered Democrat
Oh, I
or
get those too.
Republican my
Right.
entire life. So I get this something from AOC yesterday saying like, why do people think I'm a radical? And I said, because you're a commie whore. Stop emailing me.
I like, so I haven't voted in almost 20 years. Like 2008 was last time, so 17 years. But because at one time I was registered as a Democrat, like they won't leave me alone, even though like I have pushed opt out and stop and all that stuff on all those things. Yeah, they'll never leave me alone. But I don't get that many of them anymore. It used to be a lot worse. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
All right, where shall we begin?
Do you have a burning desire to share one of your clips?
Not really. Do you have a burning desire to share one of yours?
Not really. I mean, we can do my IDW and then move into my continued frustration with the lying propagandist known as ChatGPT.
Yeah, let's do that. Sounds fun.
Okay. Let me set it up. Okay. May I please have screen share?
Oh, yes. I grant you the permission to share your screen.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, I can't optimize for video sharing. It's not even giving me.
Okay, it's because of when you ask, it does it differently than when I do it a certain way. So let me do it this way. Oh, that's weird.
Do I need to get out of here?
Nope, got it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Wow, you have so much power.
I do. I do. I'm very, very powerful.
Okay, so this is Russ and Keaton talking about Elon's new political party.
Let's
Here
hear
we
it.
go. Fair use.
I've been ignoring this topic, so enlighten me.
I'm trying to ignore all of it, but I felt like I needed to prepare a little bit for our show.
Okay.
Here we go.
To be morally qualified to lead continued all the way into them. So what do a bunch of pencil-necked geeks do to connect themselves to that history?
I'm just going to go back like a couple seconds because he's making a good point
Okay.
about how the former ruling elite needed to align themselves with being like warriors or fighters or Spartans or something.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Like the idea that you had to be a member of the warrior class to be morally qualified to lead continued all the way into them. So what do a bunch of pencil-necked geeks do to connect themselves to that history? Well, Ayn Rand gave them the mythology, right? She gave them the paradigm for that, you know, wresting materials out of the ground and building these factories, that makes you just like Alexander. You are the classical hero in a modern context. And it's also connecting them to the long period when leading members of society were expected to have a classical education. Even though most of these guys do not have that, they're putting on that affectation of the earlier ruling classes that actually did have that education. And this also, I mean, the reason this is important is when you look at Peter Thiel, when you look at Elon Musk, when you look at the so-called intellectual dark web, this is part of what makes them fetishize Western civilization to the extent that they do, because they're casting themselves as the inheritors and defenders of it in connection to these heroes of classical antiquity. And that determines their influence on foreign policy, their attitudes towards Israel in profound ways.
So I thought that was pretty insightful.
Yeah.
I was into that.
Yeah.
I like me a thinking Russell.
Did you see how I saw some video last week? I can't remember if somebody sent it to me or if it was Instagram or YouTube that showed like how basically like almost every company that like Peter Thiel either started or is invested in is a reference to Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or something like that. They're all right.
But did you see that Peter Thiel is one of the primary investors in the company that cloud seeded Kerrville 2 days before the floods?
I talked about it in Glass Bead last night with Chris, right? That kid is a literally 25-year-old who looks like he's from Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter.
Yep.
Right. So we were talking about that. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to Masaki sent something a few weeks ago that I've been meaning to, I'll see if I can find it. That was another thing about like wellness company, that connection with the Peter, that I don't know if it was a Peter, I'll have to find it. It just, for some reason, when that clip reminded me of it for some reason. Yeah, it is true, right? Like it did used to be that the people who were in political power had military experience.
Correct.
Right, on some level. And now it's like pretty rare, right? There might be a few members of Congress or Senate or whatever that have, but I mean, and it's always the most bloodthirsty war hawks that have not had any military or war experience, right? Um, but yeah, it is. Well, did you see that other thing a few weeks ago where they like swore the head of like three Silicon Valley companies into the military?
What?
Yeah, like someone from Palantir, someone from OpenAI, and
This is like an honorary degree from Harvard. Now you're an honorary soldier.
well, no, I mean, I don't know if it's anything honorary about it. It's like they're sergeant lieutenant colonels. They're lieutenant colonels in the army because the army is going to be using their products. So literally, all those companies now have all the military. It isn't just a question of they're using those companies' software. Now it's like those companies are in there helping them make decisions about what to do. So like it's completely absorbed. So Silicon Valley has now entirely absorbed the military, right? Not just basically was siphoning off it. It's like entirely absorbed it now. So that made me think of that as well. But yeah.
Oh, joy.
Oh joy.
So, going back to the topic at hand, which is Elon Musk's new political party.
Can you explain it to me? It's so sad because he's all Thomas Massey's all with him on this now, and so
What?
yeah, so there was all this
What?
yeah, Thomas Massey is working with Elon Musk on this, and then also there was a lot of information that came out in the last few weeks, including from Thomas Massey's own mouth, which on some level I can appreciate. He talked about some of it on the Theo Vaughn podcast, but apparently like his company, the tech company he started before he became a politician, was funded by JD Vance's start venture capital firm that was funded by Peter Thiel. And then Peter Thiel has donated quite a bit to Thomas Massey's political career, which is kind of
Ew.
upsetting.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Like it's one of these things like, okay, well, if Thomas Massey is always just doing what Thomas Massey is doing, whatever, but still, I don't like it.
No, I hate that.
I don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked the lying propagandist that was the Google AI. So you asked for details. Here we go,
Yes.
Emily. Elon Musk has announced the formation of a new political party called the America Party, aiming to disrupt the current political landscape and target specific congressional seats in the upcoming 2026 midterms. However, the details of how he plans to establish this party and its potential impact remain unclear. Before I go deeper into my conversation with the chat, can you think of any other like moments or groups in recent history who also had the idea of starting a different political party?
Sure, Andrew Yang and Brett and Eric Weinstein, right? So it's going to be the Forward Party, the Unity Party, and of course, Eric and Brett are always up Elon's ass and Peter Thiel, right? It's totally, yes.
Although Brett's super butthurt about him being blocked. Now remember, it was Jim Rutt who first came up with the idea. Jim Rutt, former president of Santa Fe Institute,
Right.
part of Game B was about this political party.
Right.
So I asked lying propagandist large languaging model, is there a website for this party? Who else is involved supporting funding it? As of now, there's no official website for Elon Musk's newly announced political party, the America Party. Musk made public statements about the party on social media, particularly on X, but specific details, blah, 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 have not been disclosed. Support and involvement. Elon Musk, obviously. Andrew Yang!
Hey!
Tucker! Libertarian Party, which has been fully co-opted. And then we have this like vague consultants and political experts.
And that will be Jim Rutt and Eric Weinstein and Brett Weinstein and whatever.
100%. So
Yeah.
you guys heard it here first. I couldn't obviously find any receipts because there's no website up yet, but it all feels a little too familiar.
Yeah, and I think they're going to try and grab Massey as like one of their main guys, and that will
Oh,
be
for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
For sure. For sure.
yeah. Probably like yeah. So, all right. Should we go to one of my clips? Do you want Tucker and Sagar, or do you want Candace introducing this week's clown show, or tennis and PayPal Mafia member?
Candace.
Candace. All right. Clown show content of the week. Bum, bum, bum. Here we go.
Maybe we've been lied to and we might live in the Matrix. And this Epstein situation is just stunning.
Pause.
Because we've got to get into
The shoulder line is all wrong. She needs a tailor. This cannot happen. She already admitted on the last show that she does hair and makeup. This shirt is 12 sizes too big on her. She looks like a linebacker.
She does. She looks like a linebacker in a clown costume, right?
Yeah, no. All right, continue.
these similarly hilarious explanations and excuses that we are currently receiving regarding the Epstein files, because there is a level of gaslighting that is taking place that ought to be studied.
Would it ever occur to you to put pictures of yourself on your computer?
Yeah, no. I barely allow people to take pictures of me, so yeah, no.
Okay.
But I liked this line of hers. There's a level of gaslighting going on that should be studied.
Epstein's situation is just stunning. Because we've got to get into these similarly hilarious explanations and excuses that we are currently receiving regarding the Epstein files, because there is a level of gaslighting that is taking place that ought to be studied. I mean, we are just what? So to tee up this first clip, what's happening here earlier today, Pam Bondi is very reasonably being asked by journalists about the discrepancies between her past statements and actions, which we'll get to, regarding Jeffrey Epstein and the files, and the extraordinary announcement that arrived yesterday that basically no other people are going to be involved. We're not going to, there's no names. The DOJ has concluded their investigation. Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile acting all on his own. There was no orbit. So let's just watch this clip, because I promise you it is indeed amazing.
Luca Faloni's linen baseball.
Ooh, I want a linen baseball cap. Sign me up.
And released yesterday in Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the step?
Yeah, sure. If I
Could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Yeah, we are.
That is unbelievable.
You should believe it.
Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I do.
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein
Believe it.
at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up.
How do you like that?
Excellent deflect. Like, I gotta give him credit for at least being alert and on the ball. And like, yeah, that was super gaslighting. But imagine if it was like Potato Biden or Kamala in that chair, and how they would have handled this. It's all a big snow job. Don't get me wrong.
Word salad, and yes, right. But that was just like, I mean, any person who ever talked about Epstein-y stuff as part of why they like Trump, who is gonna come out and defend this, because there's people who are gonna be coping super hard, right? I mean, that was just, I don't know. Here.
Up on that. In February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well.
Like, as if that being a known thing, that every night there's going to be a minute missing, wouldn't create the perfect opportunity. This whole thing, right? Whether, like, this is no longer even about whether Jeffrey Epstein did anything, whether he didn't do it, if he exists or whatever. It's about these fucking people with this. I mean, that is like a third grade response to being caught with your fingers in the cookie jar, dude. It's
embarrassing. It's embarrassing that she couldn't come up with something stronger, more cogent, mildly believable.
Right, but it's also embarrassing that Donald Trump, who partly campaigned on releasing, releasing the Epstein list and what a horrible person Jeffrey Epstein was, and who, like, obviously there's already way too much information out there, including in court documents, for what they're saying. Like, Jeffrey Epstein could still be something completely different than what, the public has been brainwashed into thinking he is. But already in court documents that exist on the record, there's admissions of things that mean what they're saying is not true.
Of course.
Right?
I mean,
and so it's a terrible job. It's a clown show.
Do you know any people who identify as pro-Trump who are now making excuses for this nonsense?
I mean, this has just come about in the last couple of days, and I haven't been listening to a lot of news, so I hear through third part, like, other people are saying that there are some Trump diehard MAGA people who are just sort of trying to come up with some reason. But no, I think mostly what's happening is there's going to be this sort of abandonment on some level, and this sort of continued obsession with I think the obsession with Jeffrey Epstein is now going to grow even larger, right? Mm-hmm. So my opinion is that they did this on purpose, because they need to extract every ounce of time wasting they can for people out of this Jeffrey Epstein story. So now it will be not even looking into what he may or may not have done anymore. It's about why the Trump administration is lying about this. And so now people are going to talk about that for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, and then, whatever it is. So this week he also suddenly is now pro-Ukraine, but the Epstein story is getting more coverage than the fact that he's now suggesting that we send more money and more weapons to Ukraine because he's worried about how hard they're getting hit. Yes, I did hear that. That's his proposal, that this week he is sending more money and more weapons to Ukraine. So this always happens, and they've just decided that they don't even have to do school shootings anymore, because Jeffrey Epstein is like the solution to every problem.
Well, they don't do school shootings when a Republican is in the Oval. They only do school shootings when it's a Democrat.
Right, but they don't even have to do that anymore, because they can just use Jeffrey Epstein as a story to distract from everything from now until the end of time.
Correct.
Right? It's just the gift that keeps on giving. Right? There's always a new angle. He's dead. He's not dead. He did it. He didn't do it. He's a pedophile. He's a porn star. He's an agent. He's a blackmailer. Right? Whatever. Like, there's always, my guess would be that in 10 years, people will still be talking about this. Right?
Yeah.
And so in 10 years, people, like, this is already, if he supposedly started with all this stuff in like the 80s or 90s, this is already a longer conspiracy than 9/11. It's almost as long of a conspiracy at this point as like JFK or MLK.
Probably.
Right? And so people, like, I think people started to have issues about Jeffrey Epstein like back in the 90s. That's when people started talking about it. And then he got first arrested like in 2007 or 2008. So we're already like 25 years in at least. Right? So, and then and think about, like, supposedly all the JFK files have been released now too, and that's also wholly unsatisfying, right? So it's like everything is just like, when we can no longer distract people by keeping it secret, well, then we'll just like do false transparency. And then that will be, we won't even have to talk about the content of anything anymore because it'll all just be about how this isn't everything. It's like a non-provable, you know what I mean? It's like one of these things that you can't, like this sends people into even murkier waters than what they were dealing with before regarding this.
Not really, though, because so many of the people who were on Pedophile Island
Right.
and raped and tested on, genetic tested, all that, are alive and speaking about it.
Correct. But now people aren't arguing about that anymore. Now people are just, why are they saying there's no list? They're not even talking about the contents anymore. They're literally just talking about the existence of it or not. So
Okay.
it's literally not, at this point, it's like literally non-information. Remember this?
Is there any, like, I get, and I know you don't believe in government, it's all bullshit, but let's just suspend our disbelief and pretend that there was an element of justice moving through the sham show. With everyone lying, with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino lying, with Blonde Barbie lying, with Trump lying, is there any version of this where justice is actually enacted around Jeffrey Epstein, or is this just like a done deal at this point?
Well, I mean, he's supposedly dead. So that, right. So for him, like he's either actually dead or never existed, or they faked his death and he's already in Atlantis or Cuba or on the other side of the ice wall or whatever the fuck it is.
Right.
I mean, I'm joking. So yeah, no.
I think you're speaking truth. I bet he is on like a star system continent on the other side of the ice wall, like with Prince and Michael Jackson and Marilyn Monroe.
Right. So no, I don't think there's ever like, and this is like, so it's this, I have a clip from Tucker and Sagar, and the clip that I'm going to play does not show this, but there's a couple of really interesting things in this Tucker and Sagar interview. And Sagar's take on this thing with the Epstein and lots of other things is that all of this is not about getting the people caring about whether the people believe it or not. It's about signaling to the people in their own class that we will always lie for you.
Correct.
And so it's a way of gaining even further loyalty and compliance from, like, you know, bankers, media, people who work in the government. That class of people, the professional managerial class and those above, that we will always cover your bullshit. So they don't care that people don't believe it. They expect it. They know it. They want it. This is a system signaling to itself.
Right.
This is how we do it.
Also, Diddy getting off.
Oh yeah, like that was almost like small news this week. But yeah, like we're watching Ray Donovan, which is a show that was like about 10 or 12 years old. It's actually a really good show, and it's kind of about how how people exist to make things that are happening look a certain way. Like, right, you have a situation and you need to cover it up, but it needs to be sort of this plausible thing where you can do a bunch of stuff behind it, and it shows sort of the inner workings of that. But there's a character in the show called Cookie Brown that is, I think, supposed to be your sort of Diddy character, right? And this was already 10 or 12 years ago. Like, they already understood back then that this was going to be a thing now type of thing. It's a good show. I recommend people watch it if they haven't yet. We just were like looking for something, and we kind of went back based on something a friend of mine recommended the show because of. But yeah, no, I don't think. I think this is where, like, I think the thing that I would like people to understand is that the only form of justice that we're really going to get, and that really means anything at this point, is like learning for ourselves how things work and what is actually happening, and having the knowledge and the personal understanding, being able to to sort the information and come to a conclusion that makes logical sense, and not be susceptible to all of this self-signaling system nonsense bullshit. That's the closest we're going to get to justice. And I am finding that the reality is knowable. The problem is, like, when you want everyone to gain consensus about it, or you want to prove it, or you want some dramatic systemic reaction to what the truth is. Like that's not going to happen, and that's going to keep you getting your spinning your wheels. But like it's more of like a personal justice, right?
Yep.
Like by understanding what's actually at play here, how it works, and sometimes that requires you to step a little bit back from the who and the why and start to look at the mechanics of how things actually operate.
Right.
And then the world is a little bit less mysterious, no less disappointing that, you know, these fucktards have, you know, the position in it that they do or whatever it is. But actually knowing things, I think, is the justice.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you're echoing what Zaralath is saying in the chat. I do just want to say, like, he's obviously a lying scumbag who's not going to drain the swamp. He's clearly part of the swamp, but that was kind of a baller move. Scumbag style, no question. But at least, like, he's got a brain, which we haven't seen in the Oval, at least, you know, not the last go around. But it's
If
disgusting.
they only had a brain, right? Yeah. Okay. Shall we go to my Sauger clip?
Yes.
Tucker and Sauger.
But I think we should be eating sog while we do it.
Sog paneer.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'll pick the paneer out and you can eat my paneer.
That's I don't eat Indian food really, so sog paneer is spinach and cheese, right?
Correct.
Basically.
Why don't you eat Indian?
I don't like overcooked vegetables.
Everything is pretty overcooked.
I don't like overcooked vegetables, and then like that aroma is not my favorite.
Have you ever had a dosa or an uttapam?
There are
India?
items within Indian food that I enjoy, but the overall experience is not my most favorite.
One day I'm going to force you to go to Paper Dosa with me when you guys
I'll
are
go.
in town.
I'll go. Yeah. Especially like some modern Indian restaurants don't have the aroma, and then they're more tolerable for me, and that's a modern Indian restaurant, so I'll go. Yeah.
Totally. And thank you, Jerusha, for your generous super chat.
Hey, Jerusha! Woo! Hey, y'all, I had an out-of-town doctor's appointment today and not back yet. Just checking in to say I hate missing the live. So much better live. I was waiting to hear your thoughts on this insane week, Gaslighting 101. Thanks, Jerusha. We appreciate it. Okay.
One thing that I am noticing just before we get into the clip is that I'm actually watching a lot of people who identify as Democrats or leftists take issue with how badly some people reacting around the Kerrville flooding and saying that's what they deserve. Mm-hmm. So it's horrible what
my dad tried to blame it on the Republicans.
This thing, but I'm seeing that
right.
exact thing is waking up a lot of Democrats of like, how freaking heartless are you if you're going to politicize this?
Right. So my dad thinks it's all Republicans' fault because they don't take climate change seriously and blah, 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 blah. And like, I'm just like, Dad, they're all fucking in bed together. They're all invested in the same goddamn companies. They all let the same creeps into their stuff. And so I had to give him again for like the third or fourth or 12th time in the last 25 years, the lecture on how climate change is being actually caused by the thing that they're proposing to resolve it and blah, 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 blah. And so, you know, he takes it all with humor now at this point. But, yeah.
Wait a minute. Why is Orale again? Again, we have another Orale mention in the chat. I feel like it's some like interdimensional demon who's getting on me. I need to know why that's there and Undestroyer.
Yes, we've done the Orale chat before. Okay, Sauger and Tucker. And to be clear, like what Sauger is about to say here is somewhat interesting, but like not really the point. It's what Tucker's response is to it that is just kind of like priceless. So so humor me for these few minutes so we can get to the priceless response. But this was actually, I haven't quite finished listening to the whole thing yet, but there was a few interesting things in here for sure.
extractive, addictive capitalism. Let's say in finance, right? Basically creating, unproductive trading systems which are only enriching themselves and then rigging our tax code so they pay lower taxes than small business owners, maybe like you or I, or the average person on the street who gets taxed.
Sorry, I started it a little bit early, but
at a higher rate for his labor. Let's take, other examples like the more, all the so-called great companies coming necessarily out of Silicon Valley, the vast majority of that money, as Peter Thiel famously said, we're promised flying cars, all we got were 140 characters. There is something deeply true about that, about the experience of the technology industry has largely been about extractive capitalism and addiction on our phones and about industries that rely on that as opposed to products that make our lives better and make
Boy, they lecture you about that. I have friends in
this will ignite
in the
a
tech
firestorm.
business who I really like, who I consider so smart and interesting, and I guess we all get preachy about what we're doing with our lives. I mean, I get preachy about journalists. We're here to tell the truth.
Yeah.
See that guy standing while everyone else is kneeling?
So I'm trying not to be too judgmental. On the other hand, I don't see technology over the past 80 years. What about antibiotics and the polio vaccine? Okay, great. But in general, net, as we say in the douchebag industry, I don't see it as a net plus at all.
I don't see
it as enslavement and a total disaster. But they're like, what? Technology's making our lives better. Really? Tell me how.
Yeah. I mean, let's take, I know you want to talk about sports gambling. It's the perfect example, right? So it's something that's been enabled by the phone and has led, in my opinion, to what is the next opioid epidemic that we will see in the next 10 years. So in 2018, literally just 2018, the Supreme Court reversed ruled a decision that restricted sports gambling to the state of Nevada. New Jersey immediately, Chris Christie, by the way, is the person who brought this lawsuit, which legalizes sports gambling. Eventually,
Christie's on the side of sports gambling.
Of course, he was the person who brought the suit. Well, what happens from that point forward?
He is the lowest ever.
Well, you and I are sitting here today in a country where 40 states plus the District of Columbia, sports gambling is legal. You have these sports gambling companies, FanDuel and DraftKings, which basically have legal monopolies from the states, from the gaming commissions of these states, where they are allowed to operate, and it's not a free market because of the licensure and the way that it works. Yes, not everybody can just become a gambler.
I want to talk about this, I should say, because I'm totally ignorant on the subject, but I keep hearing from young people who I'm related to or who work for me about people getting in trouble with sports gambling.
Yes. And so how did this all happen? So in the span of it's been 7 years since that happened. 40 states are now legal. I just looked it up this morning. Several $100 billion were gambled by Americans in 2024.
$100 billion?
$100 billion were gambled in 2024. The gambling revenue was some $14 billion, just the revenue they were able to extract. That is larger than the motion picture industry, the box office industry in the United States of America. The vast majority of that revenue, a study that came out shows, comes from only 3% of gamblers, 3%. And the reason why is that gambling addicts make up almost 50% of the revenue. 3% make up 50% because they literally cannot put it down. And what makes this story even crazier is that FanDuel, DraftKings have the legal right in the way that they run their business, where Tucker, if you and I were actually good at sports gambling, they would effectively ban us from the platform. They would no longer allow us to place bets larger than, let's say, $1.20. And the reason why is their algorithms are detectable for anybody who is actually gambling smart. And so they immediately will ban you from being able to bet any sizable portion of money. Meanwhile, for those gambling addicts, those 3%, they have an entire VIP host directed service where DraftKings and FanDuel shower these people in free gifts. They call them every single day. They basically operate on the phone to make sure that there's no track record because they're not supposed to do this. They're not supposed to enable gambling addicts according to the law. And what they do is they encourage them with free promotions or whatever to keep gambling their entire life savings. More recently, there was a man, I talked about it in my monologue on the subject, who gambled away over $1 million, I think $1.4 million.
Yep.
I know this is gross and predatory, but honestly, it's the gamblers who are choosing to gamble their life savings away who need to take responsibility. What he's saying is gross, but they're not unwitting victims. They're participating.
Correct.
He never made more than 200,000. His wife is suing DraftKings because he gambled away his children's life savings, college accounts, his Christmas gifts, everything. Everything that he owned. He never gambled before 2020, and he gambled away everything he owned by 2024. DraftKings used to call him every single day. They used to say, what else you got? They violated their own policies according to the lawsuit. According to their lawsuit, the lawsuit brought by the wife, the income, if they tried to verify it, they would have seen that he was using all of these different assets, which are, obviously not from a W-2 income, which is apparently violated of their policy. They would have seen, as they admit in many cases, he was a gambling.
It's not their job to babysit their stupid customers.
So, okay, well, this is not why we're listening to it, but
Okay.
but yes, but since we're here, what he's saying though, because I heard him talk about it on his own show once as well, is that the company's own policy. They have their own policy when you go to sign up on DraftKings or FanDuel, right? In order to get an account there, you have to prove that you are a W-2 employee, and that's where their own policy says that people who are not W-2 employed can't have an account, and whatever it is. The issue that he's talking right now is just that they're violating their own policies, and there are rules against there being person-to-person phone contact. Everything is supposed to happen on the website or through the app or whatever it is, right? But I agree with you. I agree with you. Like, it's sad, but I even agree with it about like the drug company. Like, everybody is putting the drugs in their mouth themselves. I was a drug addict for 15 years. It was only my fault. It was no one else's fault, right? So I agree with you about that. But we're just waiting for Tucker's response. Like,
Okay.
all the build up to Tucker's
I'll zip
response.
Addict, and they didn't care. They allowed him to basically gamble away his life savings, and not only enabled it, but encouraged it. So,
you know what I'm thinking as you're telling me this amazing story? What I'm really afraid of is Sharia law. They hate us for.
Right? I don't know. That gave me a chuckle when I was on the treadmill earlier today, right? So, but yes, both things. I agree with you. It's completely revolting and disgusting, and also free choice. And I thought Tucker's response was funny.
Tucker's looking really puffy.
Remember I said that a few weeks ago, and then I kind of felt guilty because I called him fat. But
I thought you were talking about Michael Malice. Who is fat?
I think I've called them both fat in the last few weeks.
Okay. I mean, this is the truth of capitalism. Like, if these people are, it's like, exactly like you said, anyone who thinks the big pharma cares about us and isn't just trying to bilk us for money is an idiot. And if you think your gambling app is going to have your back, then you also probably think that the stripper really loves you.
The stripper really loves you. That's a good title for the show, right? But I thought that the title would probably get us demonetized or a strike.
Really?
Yeah. They don't like. Yeah. Like, I think one time when I started to put tits in the title, right? We'll try the stripper really loves you. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Anywho, but yes, I liked Tucker's response because it is funny. Like, the same, like, you have all of these usually right-wing politicians who always have people whipped up about morality and about being concerned about whether there's immigrant takeover or a Muslim takeover or the country, but like all of them are pushing to have these kinds of laws that allow these kinds of things happening. So I loved Tucker's Sharia law response. You know, I'm afraid of Sharia. That could be a title too. I'm really afraid of Sharia law. Okay. So what do you got? What you got?
I have Catherine Austin Fitz on RFK's Switcheroony.
Okay.
I'm just writing down our alternate title. Do you want me to go with that?
Do it.
Do it. Okay. Give me a second. Can you just banter? Can you just riff while I pull it up?
Sure. I'm gonna go to the chat box and see what the kids are saying, and of course now my chat box is deciding. But
mine freaked out.
Dead Star Cave Girl gave us a generous super chat, so thank you.
Thank you, Dead Star Cave Girl.
Is that what you said? Oh, I was just reading your text. You posted that.
She gave us a generous super chat.
Oh, yay! Okay, I can't see that because my thing's not working. So, okay.
Okay, so now my computer isn't working. This only happens when we do shows. So I put it in the chat to see if you could pull it up because now I'm on free. It only happens when you and I do shows.
Okay, let's see. All right, here we go.
And if you could pull it up, we're just going to play the whole thing.
Got it. I can pull it up.
Awesome.
All right, here we go.
Let's turn now to Farmageddon. This is sad. This is RFK Jr. talking. He's not looking so good. Let's listen to what he has to say.
During COVID, we had the highest death rate of any country in the world. So that is astounding. We had 16% of the COVID deaths, and we only have 4.2% of the world's population. Oh, we literally had the worst record of any country in the world. And it's a wonder that people are getting awards and recognition and kudos for managing COVID. Whatever we were doing, it was utterly wrong. And if you ask CDC, why did we die at higher rates? And we died at rates that were, in some cases, like Haiti had a death rate. Haiti, if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, we were told the poor countries of Africa are going to be devastated by this because they can't get a hold of the vaccines. Haiti is the poorest country in the hemisphere at a 1.3%.
Wait, first of all, is Haiti an African country? And second of all, he said that, did he just say that Haiti is the poorest country in the atmosphere?
What? Go back to see if he did.
I think that's what he just said.
In the atmosphere?
The poorest country in the hemisphere at a 1.
He said the atmosphere. I thought maybe he said hemisphere, but no, he said atmosphere.
What the fuck? So Haiti is a country on the island of Hispaniola in the Caribbean.
Yes, it's not Africa. It's in the Caribbean. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, is Haiti in Africa?
How many things can he get wrong?
Well, apparently everything. So here we go.
3% vaccination rate, so virtually nobody got a vaccine. Right.
He also said
they had a COVID rate of 14 deaths per million population. We had a death rate of 3,000 per million population.
Yeah, what do you anything? I mean, what we were doing.
So
he never says what we were doing. What we were doing was murdering people. Okay, in hospitals and nursing homes. There was no COVID death rate. There was a murder rate.
No, but poisoning them with the vaccine.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So,
but he's talking about a COVID death rate. He's talking as if COVID death rate is it's like, what?
Yeah, but if you look at the COVID death rate, it rises with the vaccinations.
Yeah.
I mean, Dani Rancor has done all the studies. So here's what you're watching. So Kennedy's presentation has been, I'm going into the machinery so I can turn the machine. And to do that, I have to make compromises. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have this Maha group that's following him, and they're looking at the compromises. So let's just look at the last week of compromises. The last week of compromises is, he says that the thing that we failed to do, we have vitamin D. If you keep going in the clip, it says we have vitamin D insufficiency in America, and that's what's causing us vis-a-vis. Apparently the guys in Haiti get more sun, right?
Yeah, right.
So and the Maha group is looking at this and saying, why is he lying?
Yeah.
Why is he completely telling a false story? Okay, then he comes out and he does testimony where he says, my vision in 4 years is everybody in America is wearing wearables, which is step one to building the Internet of Bodies. And the Maha group is looking at him like, are you out of your mind? Are you crazy? So then, this is the best one. On Tucker Carlson, apparently, I didn't watch it. It was clear to me that if you look at the timing of Tucker's interview, I'm assuming Bobby called him and said, I need help. I want to do an interview, because the Maha group is going crazy.
Yeah.
He says, you ready for this? We're bringing HHS into the modern world because we're canceling animal trials because now we can use AI, and AI is a wonderful tool.
Okay.
And so we don't need animal trials. We can just go straight to using drugs on humans without animal trials because we can do everything with AI.
Replace animal trials with cuckoo AI.
Right. And go really, really fast. Now, so any one of these things, whether our death rate was high in COVID because, question mark, we're short vitamin D, or it won everybody. I mean, now you're just talking whether it's, Operation Warp Speed was a success, to everybody has a wearable, to, let's experiment in humans because AI says it's okay. You're talking about somebody who's basically marching Maha into the control grid. And you described it brilliantly yesterday. Do you remember what you said? If the resistance lines up behind somebody who's doing this, there is no resistance.
So on this tip, my niece was watching some show, like, well, she was waiting for people to get ready the other day. It was called Knuffle Bunny. And this episode of Knuffle Bunny was about a little boy who had diabetes. And he had two wearables on. He had the glucose monitor back here, and he had his insulin pump in his stomach. Right. And, my niece is 3, so I'm not, there was not going to be a point for me to explain to her what
Is this a cartoon creature?
It's like let me see if I can find it. Knuffle Bunny. So apparently it's from a book, Knuffle Bunny show. Let's see. I guess it's a book. No, not show. Knuffle Bunny show. Knuffle Bunny show. All right, let's see if I can find it. Okay, so Knuffle Bunny is a stage adaptation of popular children's book series. So now they also have like a TV, it's like a series. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube. Maybe I can even find the episode and I can show you what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But okay, so Minnie is 3, so I'm not gonna explain this to her. Diabetes episode. Let's see if I can find it.
Well, I know a 3-year-old
Here it is. I got it.
who's super hip to propaganda. So don't underestimate Minnie.
A 3-year-old named what?
Willow, who's very hip to propaganda.
Oh, I love it. Is she in your class or is she one of your puppets?
No, she's an actual living, breathing human being.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So here's Knuffle Bunny. So it's
no mouth, just like Hello Kitty.
Knuffle Bunny. You look so cute.
Hi, Knuffle Bunny. I'm Enrique. I'm 10 years old, and I'm from Chula Vista, California. I'm so excited to spend my day with you. I'm taking you to school.
Okay, so I'm not going to play. I don't want to play much more because I don't want to get a copyright strike or anything like that, right? Okay, but in the show, the kid is talking. He's gotten really into cooking because he has to eat different than his friends because he has diabetes. But every meal he was eating was full of starch and carbs and sugar. And so he's like, oh, I'm having to monitor my glucose and take this shot because I have diabetes. But there's like not even any conversation at all about like just moving to a diet where you wouldn't have to monitor your constant glucose. He was eating tortillas, beans, rice, like all. Right.
Oh my God.
So the person is
That's
literally
child abuse.
I know, right? But he had the 2 wearables on, and I was like, I don't even know if I think Minnie is allowed to watch Knuffle Bunny, but it wasn't this episode that was necessarily approved. I think my sister was taking a shower. You know what I mean? So I wasn't going to say anything.
We need to pull Knuffle Bunny from the approved media intake.
Right.
That's not okay. She needs to go back to Super Chicken.
Super Chicken. But anyway, my point with this is not about the whatever. It was that the kid had 2 devices on, right? And he was creating all sorts of data for it because rather than trying to avoid eating the things that are going to cause the spikes or cause the need for the insulin or anything like that, he's constantly just in this like spike it up, bring it down, spike it up, bring it down, spike it up, bring it down, right?
More profit for Big Pharma.
More profit for Big Pharma.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
So I'm gonna, there's a theme here. Do you know any people who were identifying as pro Maha who are still backing RFK and this faux movement of his?
I personally, I don't know any like people that I interact with in real world on my day-to-day life. No, but I know that like, did you get a chain letter from Mickey today? I was going to bring this up too.
I'm not on his list.
Okay. Well, let's go look. Speaking of somebody who's like, refuses to let go of that bullshit. Let me pull up Mickey's chain letter today. And he's literally, remember chain letters? He's like literally asking people to send it to at least one other person, right? Like we're fucking 5. All right, let me find it here. Mickey. All right. So this is his email from today. False flag incoming, right? Let's stoke the fear porn, right? Hello, my friend. In the coming months, America could face a deliberate act of manipulation created to redirect responsibility and control how we think. Throughout history, false flags have been employed to launch whatever, on and on about this, right? And then at the end, like he does this whole but what if this time we stayed one step ahead? What if millions of Americans started pushing back before the story became official? It's worth a try, right? Let's deliver direct messages to the warmongers. No more conflict, right? And then down here it says that he suggests everybody Truth Social Trump because he monitors social media. Right? And then he says, remember, send this email to one person or more and then respond to this email with the word ready if you're someone who believes in peace. So these are, so yes, like this is still the same, like he does. And so I'm sure lots of them do.
Right, but we have our suspicions why he does. Do you know any civilians per se who aren't being as aggressively persuaded? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't like, I'm sure that we have listeners that are pro Trump or pro Maha for, just like we were talking about earlier, there's an entire spectrum of reasons why somebody could be supportive of that. But I haven't had anybody come to me with the full-throated defense of any of these people in a long time. Thank you, Shiloh, for the generous super chat.
Thank you,
Jim.
Hi, Shiloh.
Thank you, Jim. Bridget.
And thank you, Bridget.
Bridget, thank you so much. What did Jim say here? Can we all get a pair of the sunglasses from the movie They Live? Please and hurry. These motherfuckers aren't human. Correct. That is correct, Jim. Okay. So, oh yeah, we're having, like, thanks for the super chats today, guys. We're rocking it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think I saw somebody in there was saying that they support RFK because they're worried about something with the FDA or the mercury or the fluoride or whatever. So, right, like, I don't know. I remember like back when like the vaccine autism issue was like fairly new. I remember what's her name? Jenny McCartney or McCarthy?
McCarthy.
Jenny McCarthy, like being on Oprah talking about how she's a one issue voter because her kid had really bad autism or whatever. And I forget which, I think maybe she was voting for someone who she otherwise disagreed with, whether, I can't remember if it was like John McCain or Mitt Romney, whatever it is, because they were, for no vaccine mandates or choice around that. Right. So I'm sure that there's plenty of people who are like one issue people, and if they feel more covered by that person in their one issue, then they're, but yeah, I just don't even, let me see if I can find that wellness company thing I was talking about.
So High Heart Wellness said the civilians I know who are MAGA Maha just talk the top 3 talking points of the week. In my experience, they don't really go off script to discuss things contrarian to MAGA related stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty, I guess like I could probably reach out to someone like Cheney, right? Who, I'm very friendly with and who was sort of, she was kind of pro, much more interested in Trump than, at one point than I was. But I think she's even, backed off of some of that, but just, she would definitely know the temperature of the people who, of that group of people more than I would. Okay, here's the thing that,
by the way, Amazing Polly is on David Martin's ass right now. She is just posting about him on the daily.
Where?
Twitter.
Oh, it'd be interesting to see some of them, but I'm not on Twitter.
It's nothing different than what we've been talking about. We got another super chat. California Aquarius, thank you so much.
So Jeff sent me this version.
Okay.
Saki also sent me this last week, but it was from someone else. Not only is Peter Gillooly, the founder of the wellness company, involved with diamond dust, engineered nanomaterials, Dust Identity is an MIT spinoff that has participated in several DARPA programs. So this guy, right, is one of the founders of the wellness company, and he used to work for DARPA. Let me see if I can. This is Jeff's version. Masaki sent me.
Isn't it amazing how many people work for this supplement company are involved in the military industrial complex on an official level?
Let me see if I can find the one Masaki sent, because Masaki's version was even a little bit different. So thank you, producer Jeff and producer Masaki. Let me see if I can find. Masaki sends me so many, I might have to scroll back pretty far.
Gillooly is Gaelic, and it means son of the gluttonous lad.
Wow. It's such a weird word, Gillooly.
That's why I looked it up, because I'm like, what is that?
All right, hold on a second. Let me see.
Gillooly.
I'm having to scroll back because it was a couple of weeks ago. Masaki sends me so much stuff. Okay. He also sent me an interesting Peter Thiel thing that I'm going to find after that. But let me see if I can find his Gillooly thing. But I feel like it was so many weeks back that I might have a hard time finding it. Let's see. I'm going to go back a 2 more days, and then if I can't find it, I'm going to move on to the other one.
I have faith in you.
I feel like I may have already skipped right past it. Yeah, I think I already skipped right past it. So it's pretty similar to what Jeff's one said, but it's a little bit different. But just the other day, he sent me an article about how many times Peter Thiel's name was on the Epstein list, and that's why this is happening.
Oh.
Because Peter Thiel now runs the government, basically, right? Here we go.
100%.
All right, this one's from producer Masaki. Here we go.
Did you see the interview where they asked Peter Thiel if he cares about humanity and he couldn't answer?
Yeah, I have a great picture from that if you want to see just like all of his like frog and lizard parts going.
Yes, I'd like to see it.
I'm sure this has nothing to do with today's news. Epstein's calendar contained multiple meetings with Peter Thiel. And that was from back in 2023. And then this tweet came out on the day that they said there was no client list.
So it seems like Peter Thiel is pulling every White House string right now.
Yes, right. That seems to be the situation. Now let me show you this picture that is just like whenever it's kind of like to me this picture is kind of almost equal to Brett with his full COVID rig on, right? With the face mask and the goggles and all of that stuff. Let me go back because now it was back a few weeks here and here it is. Like this person, like I'm sorry, I don't know about any of you, but like I don't want this person next to any buttons that have any power.
Ew. He looks a little bit like who's that comedian? He's very physical. He was very vocal about the COVID nonsense. Jim Brewer.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't he look like Jim Brewer a bit in that image?
I don't know if I have enough Jim Brewer ideas in my head to know, but remember like there was like one character in like Batman that was like half of his face was like burned or missing or had technology in it or something.
Yes.
That's kind of what that happened to. But like all of these, he has all of these like little pockets of stuff that feel like what frogs and lizards have to me. I don't even understand like why this is allowed. But yes, okay, so those were my little producer Masaki and producer Jeff contents. But yeah, no, the Gillooly guy with the smart dust in there at the wellness company, diamond dust, and so the diamond. I don't know about if you ever had any experiences with pulling a bunch of. Yes, you have pulling a bunch of crazy stuff out of your skin. But I certainly did. You know, back probably in that like 2008 to 2014 or 15 period of time. And some of the shit that I was pulling out looked like little crystals, little diamonds, little pieces of silicon. It was sparkly, like glittery looking almost, right? So when you talk about diamond dust, that's the first thing that I think of. And we live in a world where first they try things out on people who no one cares about, right? Those would be meth addicts. And what better place to hide something called diamond dust than in crystal meth, because it would look exactly the same, right? So my guess would be that that's how I got it in my body. But then after they've tried it out on people no one cares about, then they, introduce it into things like the wellness company supplements or, Tangy Tangerine or whatever it is that Alex Jones used to sell or whatever it is, right? So, anywho.
I haven't watched any of them, but I keep seeing clips about Alex Jones having some sort of freak out.
Started crying and said he was going to throw up when he heard what Donald Trump said about the Jeffrey Epstein list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, it was very believable.
It was like, right? It was, yeah. Like he was like, he was crying. He's like, I'm going to go inside the office and throw up now. Since we're on the PayPal mafia, particularly the South African faction of it, let's go to my obligatory tennis clip this week because it is Wimbledon. And here we're on the Nothing Major podcast, and hosts Sam Query and Steve Johnson are going to invite in their other person who's usually a host, but he's not in the studio this week because his name is Jack Sock, and he's a former professional tennis player, now a professional pickleball player, who is taking to the tennis courts once again. He was a great player as a singles player, but one of the best double players in recent times. But listen who he's partnering up with.
That's good. Biggest news of the week, though, is our pod member, Jack Sock, making his return to the tennis court next week at the Newport, Rhode Island Challenger. So Newport used to be a tour event after Wimbledon. It's now a challenger. He's playing doubles with Bill Ackman, the 59-year-old hedge fund CEO of Pershing Square. And they play Bernard Tomic and his partner first round. They maybe have a chance. They're playing Tomic.
Yeah,
I'm
when
sorry.
Jack's...
Can you go back? I need to talk about his backdrop.
Okay. He's the one in the white suit?
Yeah.
He's commentating at Wimbledon, so he's like in the closet of like the green room at Wimbledon or something.
But why does he have something hanging out of his closet?
And they play Bernard Tomic and his partner first round. They maybe have a chance. They're playing Tomic.
Yeah, when Jack sent us that text either yesterday or the day before, I was thinking to myself, that's the greatest draw you can get because they could easily not try. Like Bernie could just go out there and just be like, not today, and completely tank. I looked at the draw since just to look at the names. Every other team is there to win and compete from first to last ball. You know what I mean? You feel like, but with Bernie, you just never know what you're going to get. We've seen it a million times. He just plays a couple games and just stops. So I think Jack actually has like a halfway decent chance.
Jack is one of the best doubles players. He retired a year or 2 years ago. Jack is one of the best doubles players in the world. So my question is, let's listen to the rest of this, but how much is Bill Ackman paying him to play doubles with him so that he can say he won a title, right?
Yep.
Maybe.
Jack's got to suck at tennis right now too, though. And Bill, compared to the other guys, he sucks.
I know. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I think it'll be fun to see. I hope I can stream it. I want to say they'll play Wednesday.
I think they'll be
on
what
I'm gathering, or what days? Yeah. So I'd love to stream it if it's on, Tennis TV or live, wherever they have it on. So I'm gonna watch if I can.
Yeah. We got a visitor.
Surprise guest.
Oh my God.
What's up, JS?
You guys remember this place?
Is that Hotel Viking?
This would be the Hotel Viking, yes.
All right, we got Jack joining via FaceTime. Give us the rundown. You've got your big match coming up in like 2 days. Will you play Wednesday?
Yeah, I've never heard they said the supervisor, which I forgot their supervisors and everything, these tournaments, they said because the other guys play Tuesday, we cannot play doubles Tuesday. So apparently we play Wednesday, which I've never heard of. But
can we get like a little rundown? How's practice? How's your game? How's Bill's game? Are you guys confident?
You playing the deuce?
I'm gonna take the ad on this one. I'm gonna take the ad on this event. Bill said he usually plays the ad, but he said he would leave it up to me, see what side I want to play. So I'm gonna take the ad this one, and you know what? We've got a couple of great days of practice. We were in the Hamptons over the weekend at his house. We practiced on grass a few days, practiced on clay once, which was interesting. And
all right.
And we came over to Newport yesterday afternoon. Got a nice hit in last night, a little tickle, and been raining on and off all day. So we have a little evening practice tonight. He has two coaches and a practice partner as well here. So we got 2 guys we'll play against, just in-house, so None of the other competition sees.
So they've been practicing privately so no one can see their practices. I'm just like, this is gross. Like, this is a billionaire buying a retired professional tennis player so that he can say that he got an ATP point or that he won a title or something like that, right? And unfortunately, like some of these tennis players, I'm not saying that they're dumb, but they don't really know anything about what's going on in the world and how things actually work. And so, like, I would love to be like, hey, Jack, have you seen Bill Ackman's tweet about the new Gaza or the truck that he rented to drive around Harvard with the names of the students who were protesting Israel so that they couldn't be hired by Fortune 500 companies or anything like that? And I guarantee you they'll look at me like, what?
Well, of course.
Let's see if they won their match. Newport Challenger doubles. Let's see. But I was not expecting that when I tuned into the tennis podcast, right? All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. So they lost. They got beat by Bernard Tomic and his partner. Bernard Tomic is like one of these very talented tennis players that just completely screwed his career off and then now trying to make a comeback. But they got beat 6-1, 7-5. So,
do you think you'll ever play tennis or pickleball or any sort of racket sport with this keen interest you have?
I'm so bad. It's kind of like, also, I don't play techno, right? I'm not a DJ. I don't like, right? I'm just like, I understand like my spot is on the dance floor, right? And my spot with tennis is on the couch with a beverage. You know what I mean?
I never understood the notion of watching sports that I'm not like. It's such a disconnect for me.
So this is really like tennis is sort of anomalous for me. I don't really like to watch. I watch gymnastics, obviously, but I like to exercise while I watch. Oftentimes, I'm on the treadmill while I'm watching or whatnot. Like not with like at Grand Slams when there's like 20 tournaments on a day. I'm not on the treadmill all day. But like when I used to watch the baseball game with my dad, he'd sit on the couch, I'd be on the treadmill or whatever it is. I'm just so pathetically bad at something that I happen to know a lot about. If I didn't like, I've watched tennis for years. I've been listening to techno for years. I probably should have started trying to play as soon as I got interested in them with both things. But by the time it like occurred to me that maybe I should do that, like my taste or my understanding of it was so far advanced that I could not tolerate how bad I was. Right. So I have really like terrible hand-eye coordination when it comes to something like I can like shoot a basketball. Right. But yeah, keeping track of like the racket, the ball, somebody else with a racket hitting the ball. It's like a lot for me.
I would like to share with our beloved chat that I'm back to right-handed racquetball. This
Yay!
is twice. In the chat, I see Denise Winterbottom has mentioned boron, potassium iodide, shilajit, Epsom salts, Imusis, baking soda, bass, and undecyclinic acid, and I'm so curious to know what we're talking about.
What are we talking about, kids? All right. I think we have come to that part of the show where we say, if you've got questions, comments, any of those things, it's all capital letters time, kids.
And if anyone remembers the show Super Chicken, please say so in the chat.
Oh, and for those of you who have never checked out our regular podcast, head over to wordspodcast.locals.com, promo code welcome to words, all one word in capital, and there you will find the most recent episode, which is Apostles of Power, that will have sort of a part 2E coming next week. Yeah, I'm not going to say any more about that right now. Also, starting next week here, we will be debuting our semi-new format, which will be more of a variety show, meaning we're going to talk about all different kinds of things, not just politics and culture. We're going to talk about whatever has our attention that week. So maybe it'll be metaphysical, maybe it'll be language, maybe it'll be, tennis, whatever the fuck it is. It's going to be whatever we feel like talking about. And it could include politics or social culture stuff, but we're not going to restrict ourselves to mostly that anymore because it's boring.
And feel free to send us stuff. And thank you, DePuma.
All right.
We were talking about the inanities that still hold space in our head. And I was telling my friend that I still knew the lyrics to the Super Chicken theme song, and he had not heard of Super Chicken. So I looked it up, and then I bugged Emily with it because apparently they're non-animated characters in the opening credits. And of course, my conspiratorial mind was wondering, who are these people and why are they in Super Chicken?
So the amount of my headspace that is taken up by tunes from shows and cartoons and other random nonsense and songs we sang at camp and like all this other stuff is like almost all of it. But at a certain point, I have recognized that I think it's probably something I do to like block other interference. Like it's a process of like creating noise to block other stuff. And so I just embrace it at this point, and I get caught singing in silly tunes all the time, and it's embarrassing, but it is whatever, right? Yeah.
I don't find it embarrassing at all. I don't care. This whole realm is so fake and gay. It's like whatever we need to do to make it through the day is fair game.
Acceptable. All right, we are having no all capital letters action.
Last call for all caps Qs. Have y'all ever looked into Dr. Seuss being a psyop? I have not, but I have his book of secret paintings, which are pretty amazing. Have you heard of him being a psyop?
Well, I've never looked into him being a psyop, but I remember there was conspiracies about the Dr. Seuss stuff several years ago in terms of like, you know, maybe he was, I can't remember what it was, if he was like a pervert or a communist or something like that, right? Like that kind of thing. But so I vaguely know that there's like a thing about that, but I can't remember what it was. It was like 8 years ago, I remember seeing that stuff.
Okay, so a bunch of stuff just popped up in the chat. So Lucy rose up, so fake and they. I don't know if you've seen our Oy Vey t-shirt. DePuma, did I hear about Yahoo's policy change? No, but I need to. So please, do you know what we're talking about, Emily?
No.
I definitely need to because I have Yahoo Mail. And my take on Steve Bannon's response to Trump's handling of the Epstein files. I don't know it yet, but I started watching James True's live yesterday because I know he had a picture of Bannon. I need to catch myself up to speed. I have a feeling I'm going to lose my crush on Steve Bannon when I really delve into it.
Oh yeah, James True had like a picture of Jeffrey Epstein and a picture of Bannon. I didn't listen to it, but I saw it come in my feed. Yeah.
Wait, Yahoo Mail is now limiting mailbox access based on what?
And also Maceo Gabbard says, I'm putting in a vote for weaponized customer service stories. And maybe we'll have like a segment, you know, it's kind of like Pee Wee Herman's word of the day. We'll have our weaponized customer service story of the day. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to need to catch up on this Yahoo situation.
You can inform us all next week because I'm sure you'll call and argue with them. And then we can hear that story too.
On it.
Yeah. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Thanks for hanging with us. Mwah.